Hi, everybody. It's been, It's been a lovely 10 minutes of you looking at a screen. My apologies. As this being my first Canon Crowdcast and sort of scrambling, we ran into some technical difficulties, like always, here at Zoe. So with that, I do apologize. I wanted to, first thing, say thank you for all the mods who are helping on Discord coordinate this. And specifically, Merck, you have been a godsend in getting so much done. And I wanted to just say thank you so much for all your help. It's been glorious. Folks, my name is Rennie Arukto. I'm the CEO of Zombie Orpheus Entertainment. And this is my first Canon Crowdcast, and it's a little weird because I'm sort of sitting in this huge, massive, empty space. And on that note, hey Joseph, what you should probably do is like set up when we're sorted out, set up a second camera here just so we can show the space for everybody when you get a chance. Not right now.
They've got him on the RoboCam right now.
Oh, you do? Sweet. So say everybody, this is what it's looking like in the studio. Yeah, actually you probably should go the other way, right? Here, yeah, so you got it. So Joseph's gonna set it up so that we can give a pivot. But in the meantime, I wanna just quickly introduce myself because you probably don't know who I am. And I'm sort of right now, the pseudo face of Zoe. So my name is Rennie Arukto, and thank you for joining us here on this first Canon Crowdcast. It's sort of a last minute thing, and we're gonna be getting into this every month again. I started at Zoe many years ago. I met Ben Dobbins back in 2005 at, Origins. I met Ben at Origins. Specifically, I worked for Gen Con. So how this all worked was I was the director of event programming at Gen Con. And I had gone to Origins to just check out what they were like. And I ran into the DG folk. And specifically, Ben was talking about soundtracks and all that, and we started talking about movies and film, and Ben was really cool and said, hey, listen, if you live in Seattle, if you ever want to do some work, I'm looking for some some editing help. So I started helping Ben on doing some editing. I ended up editing part of House Rules. That's how I actually got started, is doing some editing on House Rules. And then somewhere along the lines, Ben needed help with some other things, and I got pulled into the organization as they spun up Zoe. So I eventually became one of the owners, and long story short, I'm now here. If you've been involved with, let's see, The Gamers 3, or you were on set for Journey Quest 3 or 3.5, you might have seen me because I produced Wranglers of Death, Gamers 3 Hands of Fate, Journey Quest Season 3, 3.5, and then I was even involved overseeing the producing of Journey Quest 4 up through COVID, and actually past COVID, and then eventually now hiring our new producer, which we'll get to in a minute. So that's it. What we're going to be doing today is spending the next hour or so talking about what's going on. And I want to be able to get you as many answers as possible, and hopefully at the end, ooh, there's a moth flying around here. Get you the answers that you might have, and if I don't have immediate answers, I will make sure I capture them, either send them out via an email blast or send them out on the Discord channel, or maybe just postpone those answers until our next monthly Crowdcast. Okay, let's see. So I see people are asking questions on here, and I will be getting to these as we go through things, okay? Let's first start off with the state of the company. Zombie Orpheus Entertainment. So I have my handy dandy notes here, and so you excuse me as I refer to my notes. All right, so nearly 2 years ago now, Ben Dobbins resigned as the president and CEO of Zoe. There was a lot that led into that. You probably, if you follow Facebook and follow Zoe on Facebook, or you're on Discord, you might have read on all the events that sort of led up to Ben deciding to resign. But essentially, it was Ben's health. And I'm really glad Ben is doing great now. There's so many amazing things that are happening in Ben's life. Ben lives up in Canada, and Ben still does consulting for Zoe. So that's great. I mean, we don't want to not see Ben around. And Ben is actively involved in a few of Zoe's projects. So that's great. Right after Ben resigned, Nicole Pouchette took over. And Nicole oversaw sort of the daily operations as CEO of Zoe. But Nicole asked to be considered an interim CEO. After, about 6 months into that, 5 or 6 months into that, Nicole said it was time for her to sort of move on. And then the role, I came in and decided to take over that role. So I took over at the end of 2021. It was right around October time. The thing is, during that time period, I was also assisting with the Fantasy Network and trying to help sort of push that forward because, well, Ben does everything, right? We know that about Ben. Ben does, Ben was driving Zoe. Ben was sort of driving TFN. Ben was shooting movies. Ben was doing, designing games. Ben was doing everything. And so at the end of 2021, when I took over, I was faced with a lot of things. And honestly, I wasn't prepared for all of the things. There was a lot of things that became uncovered, and we'll get to that. Just things that you discover. Whenever you transition from one leader to another leader, there's always, usually if you're lucky and you have overlap, you have the opportunity for handoff. Well, in this case, there was overlap between Ben and Nicole, and there was some handoff. And then there was overlap between Nicole and Rennie, and there was some handoff. But there was also a lot of big question marks. Luckily, we've been sorting those out over the last, it's about 18 months now for me. So I was faced with several things. The first one was UDS, Ultimate Dungeon Showdown. And we're going to get into the details around the status of that. But I had Ultimate Dungeon Showdown. I inherited the ElfQuest situation. And just so you know, with ElfQuest, ElfQuest was a TFN responsibility, and some of you were kind to back that. But Ben was actively involved in trying to close that out. And we had hellacious challenges getting ElfQuest shipped. Part of it was, seriously, you probably heard in their email blast or heard us talk about it, but the supply chain issues just created a lot of problems. It took forever for things to end up here. And then once they ended up at the warehouse, it took forever for them to be able to move forward because they had similar manpower related issues. So just one thing after another. And then finally with ElfQuest, there's been challenges with breakages that we're having to sort out. So ElfQuest is still a lingering thing. The Fantasy Network. Yeah, so I came in with the TFN and that was a thing too. So as most of you know, TFN did dissolve a couple months ago, and leading into that, there was just a lot of drama around that. We have Journey Quest 4, which we had to put on pause because of COVID, and we had started again, and then we stopped it again. We lost different crew members, different producers. It's been an interesting challenge, and during that time, our funds were trickling away because when you start a production and you stop a production and you start one, you stop one, money gets outlaid. And so the funds start to go down. That's something. Gamers the Series, certainly that is an activity that's in motion, and we'll talk a little bit more about that. We have Gen Con, and that's something we go to every year, but that requires a lot of coordination. And honestly, I have been involved in behind the scenes with helping to coordinate Gen Con with Chris Odie. Chris does most of the work, but I've been involved in contract negotiations with Chris, also sort of using the helping with relationship management and just being there for moral support. So Gen Con is a thing that we have to put a lot of energy to every year, and luckily we have the talent, all the Gamers Live talent. We have the technical staff talent, Mark and Sharon and Chris and everybody. We have lots of talent. I don't mean to miss out on people's names. My apologies there. So then we also needed to move the studio. We had the studio down in Tacoma, which is south of here about 35, 40 minutes. And we had an opportunity to move to here, to the studio, to this location. And I'm going to tell you a little bit more about this location in a minute. But we had to move here. So I'm actually going to make a note here, studio. And then we had challenges getting spending under control. So there's a lot of different aspects around running Zombie Orpheus that you don't get to see. Things that may make sense or may not make sense. For example, we have insurance that we have to pay every year. And insurance is not cheap. As a matter of fact, here's a little thing. One of the reasons why TFN needed to had to dissolve is because insurance nearly tripled. Believe it or not, our insurance that we are paying was $12,000 a year at TFN, but then we got the latest quote, and the cheapest quote was something around $34,000, which when it comes to the revenue that TFN was bringing in, that was about a third of its overall just revenue. So not very good. So insurance is an issue. Here at Zoe, insurance is not much of an issue. What we do is we have production insurance, and it also covers our equipment and all that. So we have annual production insurance, much cheaper, but something you need to have. But other costs that started that were discovered and uncovered, such as storage unit costs. Those of you who have storage units know that starts to add up. Our storage units were, so we were paying for a storage unit, but as we dove into the bills, it turned out that another storage unit was charging us. And somehow we just didn't connect it because it was a very similar name and it was a storage unit we had used years ago. So as people who were looking at the books, we just didn't question it. And we discovered that there was a storage unit that was charging us for no service. So when we reached out, they said, we don't know what you're talking about. And it turns out that somebody's been hacking our accounts. And so that money has been trickling away, and to the tune of anywhere between $50 and $180 a month. So that was a discovery, and we had to close our account in order to make that happen, which just adds to, cost. So anyways, that's the point, is we've been working really diligently on getting cost and spending under control, doing some investment, but really trying to make sure that we're good fiscal stewards. And that's been a thing. To be clear, though, it's not that anything was out of control at Zoe. Now, the fact is that right going up and going into COVID and going into right before Ben chose to move on. Ben is amazing. They juggle so many amazing things. They are able to juggle 1,000 things and make it look like they're juggling 3 things. It's an uncanny ability, and I don't know how they did it, but they did. So transitioning from all the things that Ben did into my hands has just taken a long time. So for all of your grace and for all of your patience, thank you. to be honest with you, this Crowdcast is happening partially because I finally am getting my head above the waves. It's just taken this long. But we are almost out of the woods. So with all that, I'm going to dive into some details. But first, I'm looking at some questions here. Miguel asks about Journey Quest, so I'm going to get to that. That's on part of my list. John says, who do we talk to for casting regarding Journey Quest 4? Okay, I will get to Journey Quest 4 then. Okay, so Brax said Journey Quest. There was a funded season for Journey Quest and then COVID and et cetera. So we're going to talk about Journey Quest, and I'm going to give you the full lowdown. You're going to get that. And then somebody asked about Strowlers. So let me make sure that we address Strowlers as well, which I think we had that in here, but I'm going to make sure that we, okay. All right. So first, after COVID, you all heard that Zoe was running into some financial challenges. And so there was this campaign that was launched called Save Zoe. The entire idea was to run sort of a fundraising campaign to raise funds to help push us through that time. And the fans, you all out there, were very, how can we help you? Well, what happened during that process was Ben felt that it would be better if we offered a product in return for assistance. And honestly, I don't want to put all the words into Ben's mouth, okay? So let's be clear that this is just, I'm sort of summarizing sort of the process. And if I am wrong about some of this history, then I will let you know, and I apologize ahead of time. But essentially, the entire idea was we shouldn't just take people's money, we should offer something in return. And so part of that was the creation of Ultimate Dungeon Showdown with a card called Save Zoe, which I thought was pretty clever. But Ben and team worked together on the design, and there was many people who worked on this design to make Ultimate Dungeon Showdown work. So for all of you who are watching who were involved in here, I want to be clear that when I talk about Ben designing, I'm actually talking about everybody. I will just say the design team, okay? The design team put together Ultimate Dungeon Showdown. They play tested it, and it took a long time to get it to where it was, but we ran this campaign, we ran this Kickstarter, and we raised over $100,000 for Ultimate Dungeon Showdown. But it took time for Ultimate Dungeon Showdown to show up. I wanted to show you what it looks like, because I'm very excited about this. So this is UDS, and the designers did an amazing job of designing this box set. It's really, 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 really cool. Here's your instructional manual. Here are the cards. There's sort of a summary of instructions here. There's a magnetic clasp in here. And this set is actually really beautiful, and I'm really excited about it. In addition, if you participated in the Kickstarter, you also get a preset set of dice. But the Kickstarter also had other add-ons, and those add-ons included patches, they included miniatures, they included custom dice. You could order a custom dice box, a GM screen, there was an RPG, what else? Oh, a coloring book. So there was additional add-ons that you could get as you and maps, really cool maps. So UDS, it took a long time. we ordered a bunch of this stuff, and these took a long time to get here. These were coming from China. And they ended up landing at the warehouse, I want to say in September or October. And the team, Ben and team, so Ben, myself, and Eric, worked on trying to make sure that all the items would land at the warehouse at the same time. Those of you who have backed it know that you do not have these in your hand right yet, and you should have, but you have not. This is what happened. UDS landed at the warehouse, and we tried coordinating all the other items to get to the warehouse. Some of them got to the warehouse, and some things, like dice, did not. The custom dice took forever. One of the reasons why it took forever was because there was some, work shortages at the warehouse, and there was some miscommunication between one person and another, and some balls were dropped. Things happened during this time period, but they got it sorted, and we got those beautiful dice. If you check out the Kickstarter, you can see what those dice look like. They look great. They're sitting there. We also got the generic dice that will come with every set. The next problem that we ran into was miniatures. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to explain to you why we're a little bit behind, and what we and now me have been trying to sort of line up to take care of things. There is a happy ending to this story, but we'll get to the happy ending. Miniatures. When we ran the UDS Kickstarter, we used costs and numbers based upon our understanding of manufacturing. One of the pieces of understanding was that miniatures will cost about $2 a mini to manufacture. That was sort of the generic unit per unit cost. Where we got that number was based upon the ElfQuest campaign. Ben had organized and had coordinated all the creation of the miniatures and the manufacturing. And so Ben used an outfit in the UK, and they ultimately gave Ben a number. It was around $2 a mini. But that was for 20,000 miniatures. Ben had that number in their head, and fair, I would have done the same thing. We presumed that it was going to be $2 per mini. But when we came to manufacture UDS miniatures, and we went and talked to them later, and this also could have been because it's 18 months later, they told us that it was going to be about $6 per mini, not $2 per mini. Now, things happen. But what do you do when you've budgeted for $2 per mini and you got $6? Well, you look for other options. One of the options was having somebody to manufacture the minis here. And so we found somebody to manufacture those miniatures. A lot of those miniatures. So we manufactured a bunch of those miniatures here, but they do not come in fancy cases because of the cost. So you are going to find that these miniatures are going to be shipped to you in little Easter eggs, Easter egg packages. It was a clever decision to protect them because we found that the ElfQuest minis were breaking because they were being shaken in those plastic containers. So we actually put them in little miniature Easter eggs. It's pretty fun, actually. I think you'll like it. However, if you run into a problem and you find that the mini is broken or whatever, we'll fix that for you. So we got all those miniatures done. They were all delivered. I made sure they were hand delivered a few weeks back, and I sent out an update to all of the backers to let you know. But we got those miniatures in there. In theory, UDS should be shipping this week, in theory. I have not heard from Gamerati yet because we are right behind another order, and they were working on that, like I think last Friday, and it was supposed to go into this week. So in theory, I'm going to follow up with them tomorrow, but in theory, it's supposed to happen in the next couple of days, next few days. So if not this week, I suspect early next week, but they're supposed to start fulfillment then. What else to tell you? about UDS. I think that's the key. Oh yeah, for those of you who ordered the wood items of UDS, I'm going to make those hand shipped to you, like in a separate package, because they're heavier and I don't want them banging around inside a container with other more fragile items. So we're going to ship those separately. There's about, I want to say about 40 of you who have ordered wood items, those nice large boxes. So that's UDS. In case you were wondering, UDS, although it raised it's ultimately about $125,000 outside of shipping, somewhere around there. Probably a good 75 or 80% of that went to the cost of manufacturing fulfillment, to be honest with you. And I think that ultimately there was probably around $30,000 in margin that was raised off of that ultimately. So the big question is, I have to verify that, and I'll let you all know once I verify with our finance team exactly what that margin was, just so you're curious. I just want you to be aware that we did make money. But what was really cool, we made money to help save Zoe. But what's really cool is that we now have a lot of copies of UDS, and we're going to be going to Gen Con, and we're going to be going to Gen Con, and we'll be selling UDS, and we're looking for a distributor as well for that. So we'll talk about that. We're also going to have some organized play around this, etc. So that's UDS. Let's see. If you have any other questions about UDS, pop them into the chat, okay? Our next one, our Kickstarters. So we have UDS outstanding, which should be fulfilled shortly. We have, oh yeah, and by the way, if you're a backer, make sure that you've checked your junk mail. Make sure that you, for the backer kit forms, backer kit emails, so you can make sure that you fill that out for the shipping, because some people haven't yet. All right, Demon Hunters. So we actually fulfilled Demon Hunters. That was one of the things I inherited, and we were sort of outstanding in that. But we should have gotten that out. So those of you who were part of the Demon Hunters backer, we've got that locked out. We're about to get UDS out. And Journey Quest. That's the most outstanding of all of them, because we raised Journey Quest funds like over 4 years ago. So what's going on? There are two parts to Journey Quest that you should be aware of. The first one is there's the Journey Quest, the movie, the production, and there's the Journey Quest goods. I'm going to talk about the production first, and then we'll get into the goods. So in summary, if you haven't been following the Kickstarter updates, go ahead and do so. If you are not on that Kickstarter, I try to update in our Zoe email news blast. If you are not on that email blast, please feel free to sign up. We don't spam. I usually try to send out an update once a month. That's when I'm trying to get into that cadence. So I don't really spam that, and we don't sell it. So note that you can be on that list. But Journey Quest, here's where we are. In November, I hired a new producing team. Mo and Ali, Moses and Ollie are producing the show. Moses is directing it as well. So they went in, and here's what happened. I'm sort of actually really happy about this, but COVID hit, and we had to shut down production. Elizabeth and I and Tony were the producers on the show. And or Elizabeth and I with Tony also driving stuff forward. But then COVID hit and we had to shut down production. Then Ben did some investigation on alternative ways that we could deliver, but we heard from the fan base and decided that those alternatives were not great options. But while we investigated those options, we did spend some of the Journey Quest funds. Part of it is because we needed to figure out what we're going to be doing. And we didn't know how long this pandemic was going to last. We had no idea at the time. So we did spend through some of those funds. Then we flash forward to 2021, around October of 2021. And we get the producing team working with a particular director, and we start moving toward that. And because that was sort of the second phase or the second sort of push of COVID at the time, it was determined that we needed to put production on hold again. Well, that really arrested momentum, because anytime you invest in production, there's some costs involved, and it starts to, hit our overall budget. So we did that, and then over the last year in 2022, there was a lot of events that happened that ended up resulting in us needing a new producing team and new director. So there was just events that led to that. We put out a call for producers in, I want to say it was October. And I decided that I was going to need to interview a lot of producers at one time. And I got a lot of really great options. But one team came forward, and I let them know where our budget was, how much we needed how much we had to be able to make this show happen. And so they said, we think we can do it, but I'd like, how long do we have before we can come back? I said, I'll give you 10 days. So every producer had 10 days. This one team came back, not only with we can do it, but an understanding of the budget, a broken down script, and how they were going to address the delta between the different budgets and the script itself. They came and pitched this entire story and what they're going to do. They had their act together. We were so excited. So we hired Ali and Mo, and they've been driving forward with this production since, working with Sean Shelton from Bandersnatch. You might remember Bandersnatch from, such wonderful works as The Gamers. So, and Journey Quest. So Bandersnatch is going to be helping with Journey Quest Season 4 as well, with Ali and Mo. We had our last script read, we had a script read last week. Oh, I think it was week before last, actually. Week before last. We had our script read on Friday, almost 2 weeks ago now. And it was great. It was so great to have the cast back together. We look to be shooting Journey Quest 4 in earlier mid-May. That's what they're driving toward, earlier mid-May. They have most everybody aligned for that. Some of the people that we are worried about being able to have a flexible calendar have availability, so that's really, really good. So that's what it looks like, is that we're going to be shooting come mid-May. Those of you who are backers who are planning on coming out, we'll need to coordinate with you and help you understand what that looks like and how that can actually work. Okay. When mentioning folks for the first time on the Crowdcast, Elizabeth Hiley, Elizabeth Hiley, I mentioned Elizabeth. She's my co-producer here at Zoe. I've worked with her on Gamers 3, as well as Journey Quest 3 and Journey Quest 3.5, as well as Journey Quest 4. And so Elizabeth is sort of my right-hand person. She's a great line producer and works all in this industry. Her name is Elizabeth Hiley. And then Tony Becerra. Tony has done a lot of the Zoe properties as the AD, the assistant director. So that's Tony Becerra. So if you haven't seen them around, you will. a lot of times they're behind the scenes. You'll see Tony a lot. So, and he's sort of a fan favorite too. So thank you for bringing that up. All right, so that's Journey Quest. We will not have a finished release of Journey Quest for Gen Con. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen. There's just a lot to do, and that would require us to be able to pull it all together in essentially 8 weeks, and I just don't think that's reasonable. But we do want to have a trailer to premiere of Journey Quest at Gen Con so that you can see and get excited about things. So that's what we have, and then they plan to release it. We plan to get it out sometime in the fall. So that's Journey Quest. What about the Journey Quest reward fulfillment? Well, that's a good question. Once I get UDS out the door, which should be again the next week, I'm going to start the ball rolling on those items as well to start coordinating manufacturing. The thing is that what we want to do is send everything all at once. How it works is when things go to the warehouse for fulfillment, it costs us money to store it there. So if let's say I were to get a coloring book manufactured right now, I could get that coloring book and ship it to the warehouse. But if I don't ship it out over the next 6 months, then that coloring book is going to cost me money every month to sit on a shelf. So what we want to do is align the arrival of all the goods right about the same time. Some goods take longer than others, but printed goods like books, coloring books, items such as patches, those things we can turn around pretty quickly. Other things take a little while longer, like miniatures, things that we need to go to for China. So those are things that we're taking into consideration. If the film is done, let's say in September or October, we take that mastered copy and then we send it off to get manufactured. And that turns around pretty quickly. And so then those DVDs or those Blu-rays would end up at the warehouse. And we want to align when those end up at the warehouse with all the other items. So they also hit within the first 4 to 6 week period. So that's sort of our planning. So we don't want to get too much done or get too many things ordered just yet. So that's how that all works. But I'm going to start on the remaining Journey Quest stuff for fulfillment of physical goods within the next few weeks. Okay, questions around Journey Quest. Let's see. I've answered when. The question is, who do we talk to for casting? So for right now, Journey Quest has been fully cast, as far as I know. When I say as far as I know is, I don't know if the director or the producer have any plans to expand any additional roles. I suspect not. But I will ask them, and then I can give you answers around that. The next question, okay, by the way, thank you for highlighting the Journey Quest stuff in green. You're my favorite right now. All right, let's see here. Other Journey Quest questions. Are there many changes in Journey Quest casting with as much time passage as we've had? So, yes and no and yes. In other words, time passing itself may not have impacted casting. There certainly can be challenges with some people saying, I'm done. Sometimes that happens. And in those cases, we would have conversations like saying, really, please don't be done. We love you, right? We'll have those conversations. That's not necessarily what happens with Journey Quest. Other things happen where people may not be available. And if they're unavailable, then we have to choose alternate casting. And that can be a thing. I am not in a place right now where I am authorized to be able to say whether or not there were changes in casting at all. And that's partially because things are still being discussed and negotiated, sort of. Like, that's not quite the right word. But what I'm going to do for you regarding casting is I meet with the team every Thursday. So I'm supposed to meet with them tomorrow. And I will very specifically ask, are we at a place to announce cast and all that? And then I can give you answers on if there will be changes or not and what that looks like. Okay. Hey, those of you who are the team who's giving me notes on here, can you just call out that I need to do that tomorrow? Thank you. All right. Let's see. Journey Quest casting. I think I answered all the Journey Quest stuff. So with that in mind, if there is more Journey Quest stuff, I'll come back to it in a minute. But let's continue on, okay? Gamers. Did you know that this year is the 20th anniversary of The Gamers, the original movie, the one that started it all? Yeah. That's pretty awesome, right? 20 years. It was November, I want to say it was like November 3rd, 2001, when Gamers was, 2002, sorry. November 3rd, 2002, when The Gamers was actually first came out, premiered. So this year is the 20th anniversary, and we are going to be doing something about it. I want to keep it secret. I don't want to tell you about it, but we do have something special planned, all right? So we are going to have a special re-release of The Gamers, as well as a really cool item that you can choose to purchase as it. I'm sort of reticent about putting out a campaign with it just because we haven't, just because of where we are with some of our other campaigns. But I'm not sure how to get this out to everybody soon. So we'll figure that out, but trust me, in the next few weeks, we're going to announce the 20th anniversary edition of the movie, as well as getting a couple cool things out to you that you'll love. Some cool items related to it. That's The Gamers. What about Gamers the series? Well, I can't really talk about where exactly we are with that, other than we have a script, we have a production team, we have a director, and we have a general plan to get it done. But before we do that, we really need to get Journey Quest 4 in the can. I feel personally very uncomfortable moving forward and going to a fan base and saying, hey, let's fund this next movie, when we really haven't gotten Journey Quest 4 in the can. So I'm sort of making a decision around that. We've sort of all talked about it, and I think everybody has sort of the same feeling about it. Matt Vancel has, everybody sort of has. And so I think we're all there, but I had to sort of I could have said, no, we're going to pull this, but I don't think it's a good idea to do. So we are going to hold tight on going to funding yet for this Games of the series until the cards align a little better. When does that look like? Next couple of months, I think. I think we can talk about it in the next couple of months. So just on these Canon Crowdcasts, we'll keep you updated, okay? Hopefully that gives you the answer. That's Gamers the series. What about Gamers 4? I don't know. One of my things is I'm going to be I'd love to talk with Matt more about what his plans are around that and how Zoe can, make that magic happen. I know that we're all excited about the Gamers 4 movie, and that's all part of just getting things aligned, right? The stars aligning and people's times and schedules aligning and all that. But man, wouldn't it be great to see a Gamers 4? I would really love to see that too. So, but one step at a time. Let's get Journey Quest out the door first, okay? All right. Let's see. Any questions related to that first? Okay. Jesse Fraley asks, is the new Zoe going to concentrate on fewer properties? It seems like they've been spread too thin for a while. Yeah. By the way, I think it's Jesse. I say I think because I'm wearing contacts and it is Jesse. Okay, thank you. I'm wearing contacts and I think it has to be this far for me to be able to see there. Oh yeah, it's right there. That's good. Jesse, thank you. Are we going to concentrate on fewer properties? I can't say yes or no because I haven't made that actual decision. What I want to concentrate on is stabilizing. I want to concentrate on stabilizing what we do, make cool, fun stuff in an agile and lean way. And what I mean by that is it takes a lot of energy and momentum and resources to do a film. It takes a little less to do streaming entertainment like what we're doing with The Shattered Compass, which we will talk about in a minute, right? Or Masters of the Metaverse, or The Reliables, or others, Death from Above. So it takes a little less resources to do that. It takes even less resources for us to be able to build momentum around merchandise as well. So one of the things I'm trying to do is sort of do a multi-tiered approach on rebuilding Zoe. And our initiative in 2023 is stabilize, rebuild. Stabilize, rebuild. And we're getting close to the place where I feel like we've stabilized. We're getting closer. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to tell you about how we're doing that, okay? Rebuilding means getting Journey Quest out. It means getting Gamers the Series moving forward, right? Are there other properties that we can develop? Well, the answer to that is I have plans, and one of my plans is with the, sort of all over the place here. With the fantasy network collapsing, dissolving, there was an opportunity for Zoe. You see, the beautiful thing about TFN, and one of the visions of TFN was essentially the next phase in Ben's vision for crowd empowered art. One of the challenges I think we all have as artists is we do things on the side and we do our day jobs. But what we want to do is we want to be able to come to the community, and if the community wants something, then they can empower us to do so. And that's what you've done with Dead Gentleman and Zoe, is basically as a community, you've helped us grow. And then we've in return, delivered more cool things. We wanted to be able to empower other producers to do the same thing. And Ben's vision was, wouldn't it be great if all of us as a community got together, we could empower creators to create new things all together and have the power of the collective. And that just didn't really happen because most of TFN was supported by you, the Zoe audience. Other producers, they loved creating things, but most of them did not understand that they needed to also put in the work that Ben and Matt and Dawn and every single other of the DG family did to build the gamers community. All the hard work of going to the conventions and connecting with fans, as well as what the actors did as well too, right? It's all that work. A lot of these producers that came to TFN wanted to create cool movies. They didn't feel energized to work to build the audience. But there were a few producers who did understand that. And so with the collapse of TFN, I've been working with these producers to pull them underneath the Zoe umbrella, because they understand the idea that A, their properties are really cool, and B, they understand that they need to build their audience, and they have an established audience just like we do. And I believe in that synergy, that power. It's akin to what, let's see, Disney Plus, right? They have the Star Wars property that has its fan base. The Marvel property has its fan base. They have the Simpsons audience, right? They have all these different audiences, and sometimes they cross and sometimes they don't. But when they do cross, it benefits both properties, and it also benefits the umbrella as a whole that can then help to empower these properties to make more stuff. So that's what I'm doing as well. I'm expanding Zoe by pulling in other producers who get what we do. And so far it's working. It's pretty great. So that is one of the steps that I'm taking to grow. So to answer your question, is Zoe going to concentrate on fewer properties? Not necessarily, but I'm not going to spread myself so thin. I want to expand the number of properties that we do, but we can't spread ourselves thin doing it. So we have to do it mindfully. I'm going to be expanding our merchandise and expanding the cool things that we offer you in the interim. And that will also help to fund future properties. I also want to expand our services organization. So Joseph, if you want to spin the camera around, I can share it to everybody. So just for example, here at the I'll just stand up here. So can you see me? Yeah. We're good. All right. So we are standing here in Chaldea Studios. Peter Atkinson, who was the CEO of Wizard of the Coast, and then left and bought Gen Con and owns and runs Gen Con, also is a filmmaker and has created a series called Chaldea. And my phone's ringing. And it's called Chaldea. This is pretty cool. Chaldea is Peter's own D&D world. And so what Peter has done is Peter's made movies and series based upon his world. We were looking for a new space, and Peter wanted somebody to run his tech. So Peter said, why don't Zoe come in and run the tech for his studio? So right here, what you're seeing right here is the game table that we play in. This is also the backdrop to one of Peter's part of a scene in one of his movies. But Peter runs a series called Actoroki here, and RPGs are played here. And we play RPGs at this table. So this is pretty great. And Zoe can actually use this table for whatever if we want. Looking above, if you want to pivot up above, you can see we have the lighting grid all set up. It's pretty cool. Over here, we got bunches of cameras. We have 4 4K cameras that we use to shoot our shows. You are actually looking at this on what we call the RoboCam. And we have 2 RoboCams. We have one that you're looking at, and then one right up above, which is the overhead RoboCam that we use to shoot overhead shots, like at the table and stuff. Going over here, you will, hello. Coming over here, we have the tech deck. And this is where our tech team is working. And Joseph, you can stand up and say hello if you want. There's Joseph. And so this is where the tech team is. We're going to be moving this deck across the way. And then when we turn all the way around, and I'm going to go and just turn the camera a little bit. I don't think it can go all the way around, right, Ken and Joe? Actually, this way?
Go ahead and move it.
All right. I'm just gonna turn this here. So as we turn all the way around, you can actually see the green screen. And this is where those of you who watch Shattered Compass can see this is our green screen. This is Peter's green screen, and we use this to shoot Shattered Compass, as well as Actoroki shoots their stuff here too. This is a nice warehouse space. We have an extended warehouse space over there, or Peter does, that he does all the construction. So this is this is our studio. We provide services to Actor Oki. We also provide services to other teams as well, other groups. And that's a form of revenue for Zoe. We do services for Gen Con, as example. We actually go to Gen Con and we run their large main stage. And Mark Thomason and Sharon Bebop and others in the tech crew, the camera people that we bring in from Indy, come in and help as well. So that's a form of revenue that actually helps to sustain us. So again, we're extending what we're doing by being very mindful of how we use the resources we have. I'll go back over to the table. So there's that. There's streaming revenue, right? There's streaming. And what we're trying to do is create more content online, more cool content, so that people can, want to watch and drive to the Zoe site and discover other cool stuff. So, are we concentrating on fewer properties? Not exactly, but we do want to be mindful of how we're spreading ourselves. So, and that's something that we're trying to take better control of. So, hopefully, Jesse, that answers your question. Okay. Next question. What happened to Strowlers? So, yeah. I was talking with Ben about Strowlers today. Right before I actually left home to come here, we were texting about that. So, Strowlers Hawaii is about to go do a Kickstarter, and we're negotiating with Strowlers Hawaii on some nuances of rights over certain things. But they're going to, if you've not seen the trailer for Strowlers Hawaii, they're planning on going for a full episode. So that's one thing. We also have Strowlers, the Mongolia episode 2, that is supposed to be released. It's been in the can for a year. And last year, you might remember that we've tried to do a promotion around Strowlers so that then we could drop the episodes for Mongolia. But we couldn't get enough momentum. And in conversations with Ben, the question was, is it worth dropping them now or should we wait? And we determined to wait. Should we move forward with Strowlers? Our challenge with Strowlers is it still hasn't found an audience. What that basically means is the Gamers has an audience. There's people who love the Gamers. They don't even know about Zoe, but they love the Gamers. There are people who love Journey Quest. They may not like the Gamers, but they love Journey Quest. There's a smaller subset of people, subset of Zoe fans, plus other fans who love Strowlers. We just haven't been able to hit that momentum where a lot of people start to watch it. And I'm not quite sure what we can do to make that happen and grow it. So I think that's a little bit up in the air as to exactly what Zoe is going to do to grow the Strowlers audience. I want it to be heard here first. I believe in Strowlers, and I want to see more Strowlers happen. I want to see more happen. I believe in it. I think it's wonderful. It's fun. I just need to figure out how do we make that happen, and how do we fund it because right now we have enough fans to fund Journey Quest. We don't have enough fans to necessarily fund a Strowlers episode. We might. We just have to sort of figure out what that looks like. So hopefully that answers your Strowlers question. One of the questions is Zoe going to start posting financials on the website? No, I'm not going to do that. Zoe is a private company, so I'm not going to start posting financials, but I'm very happy to sort of share how Kickstarter funds are used and like just sort of show that graph. And I'm happy to sort of share that. Overall corporate financials, it's a private thing. And so, no, I'm not going to necessarily do that. But I think it's actually important that people understand, that you understand what happens when you fund a project. Like, for example, Journey Quest. What happened to the funds? Why did it happen that way? We've had these conversations, but I think it's important to have transparency around that. So I don't want to obfuscate stuff, but just as a corporate thing, just as Zoe Financials, I don't think I'm going to, we won't necessarily do that. But I think it's really good for you to know that if you are funding a thing, is it being used wisely, right? I think that's a good question. Oh, the question around this, is this card game like Munchkin? That's a good question. It sort of is, but it sort of is not. The fun mechanic around this is that if you are really familiar with the properties, the mechanics work like the characters themselves do, and it's fun. So you can actually see on the Kickstarter examples of it. And if you're coming to Gen Con, sure, pick it up. But if you have more questions, we'll probably do some plays for it, okay? We'll put some, we'll actually do some streaming if that'd be interesting to you. Happy to stream the game and get you a sense for what it looks like. Okay, Brax, I'm gonna get to your question in a bit. I see a question, I'm gonna get to it. I'm not ignoring it. I just wanna wait till the end there. The question is, can you invest in Zoe like you did in TFN? I would love, part of me says, sure, why not? No, probably not. And it's not because I don't think the investment would be good. If you came to me and you said, Rennie, I want to invest $1 million in this company, well, I would have a conversation with you to see what that looks like. I might tell you, I don't think that's a really good use of your money. I'm not saying that we couldn't turn it into gold, because we probably could. But, you know, it is a high-risk venture when you invest in any company, let alone a non-regulated one. So that's where I have concern. TFN was a regulated company, and we actually had to go through a lot of stuff with the SEC, and that was really uncomfortable to be a sort of traded company, if you will, through Start Engine. And I know the folks involved were not very comfortable with it. And so I think that the answer for right now is no. I think the way that you can support Zoe is really through when we run campaigns. And I would love to see that happen more often. And so if you have some ways to help encourage that, you know, let's have a conversation if you really want to invest that way. All right, can I talk about TFN dissolving? Sure, I can talk about TFN dissolving. Are you asking, to be clear, are you asking what led to it? The entire story around it? I will summarize this. I'll summarize this TFN dissolution. Mind you, I was sort of on the outside for most of this process until the last, but I was involved for a period of time, but not the beginning. Here's what happened. In 2019, I want to say, in 2019, they launched their Start Engine campaign to get funds with the intention of trying to raise around $1.4 million is how much the budget said they needed in order to create an engine that would work. Okay, so they needed an engine because they needed to have employees. So like a salesperson who could actually promote the show, technology, a developer, staff to make the company work. So they started raising money, and right around the new year, they had raised about $225,000. Then, right after that, they put a pause so that they could figure out next steps, and then they're going to unlock it. And so they started to unlock it. Then COVID hit. And unfortunately, our model says we want producers who are going to create new stuff. But with COVID hitting, there was no producers creating new stuff. Producers were having a hard time trying to create new stuff because they couldn't go into production. So this slowed down the TFN's momentum because we couldn't get more producers with a lot of new content. And new platforms like us need a lot of new content because we are putting content everywhere, but once somebody watches it, they want to watch something new. They don't want to watch the same thing over and over. We just couldn't get the breadth of content now, even though we were trying to get new producers. So we were sort of stuck with $225,000. And I told you about the insurance. Insurance was costly. Infrastructure was costly. Essentially, they didn't have enough employees. Ben was running tech, but Ben was also doing Zoe work. And we had a person doing some limited promotion, but there really wasn't enough funds to pay for a full-time employee. There wasn't. I mean, you needed 2 to 3 people to make that company work, but it was basically falling on the shoulders of one person. And you also need a person to help deal with finances and operations that way. So ultimately, there was not enough funds to keep the engine going. The next part of this structure for TFN, so there was the producers that we needed, and we needed revenue from that. The other part of TFN is that we wanted to do crowdfunding. The attitude was, if we can get the producers to crowdfund their content, then we'll take a percentage of that. TFN was more of a services company. It was a streaming platform and a services company. That was sort of its business model, and supporting the creation of new content. We needed to crowdfund about 3 tentpole campaigns a year. Tentpole, like $300,000. The entire idea is they needed to raise about $1 million a year in order to meet their operational expenses. So if you had 3 $300,000 campaigns, that would work. So basically, if they ran 3 journey quests. The challenge is not everybody knows how to run those types of campaigns. Ben Dobbins does. Can you imagine Ben trying to run 2 companies and run 3 campaigns at the same time, plus campaigns for Zoe and campaigns for all the properties at Zoe, as well as all the other stuff Ben does? And there really wasn't somebody trained to be able to run these other campaigns, and Ben didn't have a lot of time to be able to make that happen. So we were able to run a campaign for ElfQuest. ElfQuest funds came in, and we essentially just kept on going and going, and there just was not enough funds to keep the engine moving without doing another capital raise. And there just was not a lot of vision on how to be able to make that happen. And so operationally, they burnt through those funds to just keep the lights open to try and make things happen. Frankly, a lot of people worked I know that I worked for free. I didn't really get paid, for the work that I ended up doing, and a bunch of other people did too, because we believed in the program. And there was a lot of investment by the original owners as well as by the fans. There's just across the board. And so that's sort of what happened with TFN. So then near the end, we're like, what can we do? Can we run another crowdfund? Can we do it? But what happened was the ElfQuest campaign sort of just tapped out everybody, because the ElfQuest campaign was also being fulfilled by Ben and Eric and Rennie. And those are the 3 people who were trying to help make TFN move forward. So in the end, there wasn't, it just, sort of couldn't happen anymore because there was just not enough revenue. They were able to, close out and make sure that ElfQuest was fulfilled. And that was a big deal because that was a huge deal. So hopefully that answers your question. Let me know if it doesn't fully answer your question, Brax, about TFN dissolving. I know Ben's brokenhearted by it. I know I am too. I mean, that was sort of what we call phase 3, if you will. But if you really like the logo, you can buy the mugs with them still. You can still buy the mugs with logos if you want. So we're making those available. If you like the logo, I got a TFN mug. And so you can still get them with the logos. So that's a good thing. All right. And by the way, for those of you who invested in that, I'm sorry that vision did not work. Again, I wasn't really overseeing that. I just did some grunt work, but I'm really sorry because I know that's a disappointment for across the board. It sort of sucks. All right. What else? All right. All right, Jesse, given that web-delivered content has changed so much in the last 15 years, are you finding it harder to get traction given the over amount of live content versus scripted? So, no, because I believe really strongly in pivoting. I believe really strongly in fast feedback and in throwing something out there and seeing if it sticks and trying something new. I believe that really strong. I also believe that if you do something good, sometimes it doesn't get bought. You can't control what people like. You can only try something and see if they do. So we are trying. We want to close out. We want to make sure that the things that we started, like Journey Quest, that we bring it to completion. We want to continue things that people are looking for. We want to make them relevant as well, right? So we want to do all that, and then we want to look for new things that we want to do, like what can Zoe do that's new and interesting? I don't know, folks. Are you interested in watching Twitch? Do you like streaming people? Is that interesting to you? I'm curious. I'd like to actually see some stats on what the Zoe audience currently does. You certainly like watching RPGs. Speaking of that, have you watched Actoroki on Gen Con TV? Actoroki is something that Peter Atkinson's Chaldea Studios does, and Zoe cast members are in it. Scott C. Brown's been in it. We've seen who else? Jesse Lee Keeter has been on there. Andy Dopieralski has been on there. Bryce Bebop. In fact, Bryce and I are playing together every other Wednesday in Actoroki doing the RPGs. So something for you to look at and check out. It's really, really fun. And I'll tell you this, if the Zoe audience shows up to Gen Con TV, it'll give me an opportunity to be able to go to Peter and say, hey, listen, let's partner more. Think about it. Actually, I know Peter's already thinking about it, but hey, it doesn't hurt to see if you're interested. Okay, I see the notes here. I'll get to a couple more of these here. Are there any changes to the SKULA, fan-driven works and monetization in regards to Zoe properties becoming canon, et cetera? There hasn't been any changes as far as I know. If you're talking about the rules around that, if you have opinions or thoughts, I always want to hear them, but there hasn't been any changes regarding that at the moment. Fan-driven works. If you're thinking about creating new things, just talk to me. Any plans for any new RPG products for any of the franchises? Yes, there are. I'm glad you asked. I'm not going to tell you about them right now. However, the UDS RPG is supposed to be coming out shortly. Do you think there's a need for any updated non-Pathfinder versions? I mean, I'd love to hear your interest in stuff. So let's see about what we can do. Humans and households. Would you love to see that? I would. I have heard that there is a second season already written, and I would love to see that happen. Let's see a show of hands if you want to fund that and make that happen. I would love to see that happen. Let's make it happen. All right, Liberty Cabbage. So Matt Vancel created a series called Liberty Cabbage. If you haven't already seen it, you should. I'm going to send we're going to link to it, I think, on the Zoe site. If you're on the Discord, we can also make that available. But Liberty Cabbage, Matt Vancel's next funny thing that they've created is great. It's really good. And you're probably asking yourselves, what the heck is a Liberty Cabbage? I asked that question. Have you ever heard of freedom fries? Well, look it up. Liberty Cabbage. Look it up. Let's see. In between Kickstarter and this, where best to support you? What do you mean by this? I just want to make sure I understand. In between Kickstarter and this, where best to support us? Well, here's how. In about 2 weeks, I'm going to be, 2 weeks is always pushing out because I said this 2 weeks ago. Oh gosh. In about 2 weeks, we are going to be formally relaunching the zombieorpheus.com website. The zombieorpheus.com website right now looks like the old Zombie Orpheus website. However, one of our beloved members, Merck, has been spending a lot of time bringing in all of the contents and making them available in one single place. So all you have to do is go to zombieorpheus.com and you can see it all. That's right. The gamers and Strowlers and Masters of the Metaverse. And all of the Gamers Live content, and Journey Quest, and Humans and Households, and Natural One, and you get the point, right? Lots of great content on there. And we're trying to make it easier for you to find, so you can just go there. You go to there and see it, and that actually helps us, because the more people who watch, those streams add to minutes, and that actually, Google writes a check, sends it to us. That's pretty nice. Second thing, we are relaunching the e-commerce store. Yay, e-commerce store. There's so much cool stuff at the warehouse right now. And it's literally been sitting there for years and nobody has bought it. Why? Because you don't know that it exists. And if you did know, you might want it. So I'm not exaggerating when I say there is so much cool stuff out there. So I'm putting pictures of it and I'm making it available. We're talking about old stuff too, things that you didn't even know that you forgot exist or you didn't know existed. Pins and patches and signed goodies and non-signed goodies and books. Lots of cool stuff. So I'm going to be putting that all on the e-commerce site, on our Zombie Orpheus. I like to call it Zombie Storpheus. You're welcome. Yeah, so zombieorpheus.com, there's going to be a store and you have it all the stuff there. Subscribers. Okay, let me talk about the store. So unfortunately, there's 50 of you watching and I wish there was 5,000, but last minute. So thank you for joining us here. So subscribers. Man, what a painful tale. First thing, if you're still a subscriber, thank you so much. You have stuck with this process. We started on Patreon. Then we moved to Gumroad. And I don't want to go into why, okay? You can ask Ben. I know why, but I'll just editorialize and it doesn't help. But we went from Patreon to Gumroad, and we said, hey, Patreon people, switch over to Gumroad. And some people did and some people didn't. Okay. Now we're on Gumroad. And then we spun up the Fantasy Network and WooCommerce. So then we had to migrate Gumroad stuff over to WooCommerce. Well, every time you migrate from Patreon to Gumroad, you lose people. And every time you migrate from Gumroad to WooCommerce, you lose people. So we went from this much subscription revenue down to this much. So you can do the percentage. This much to about this much, right? Because one reason is because we kept on moving platforms and people didn't feel like they needed to sign up. That's one. The other reason is because, well, we stopped focusing on the stuff that you love to have us do, all the cool stuff. So we went from the TFN WooCommerce site to Zoe's WooCommerce site. And I've tried to make this painless by just replicating the information so you don't have to. I've tried. But here's what's happening. I am having to manually redo some of the subscriptions. This might require you to re-log in and reauthorize the subscription. It might. Or the other thing that might happen is you might accidentally get charged twice. I want you to know that we hate that. We don't want you to be charged twice. And Petra, our finance person, Zoe, freaks out when that happens. She does not like it. It's not right. We believe it's morally wrong to charge you twice for something that you only wanted to charge once. And you might not catch it. So we go in there and we look through the records. So over the next 4 to 6 weeks, we are going to have to audit to make sure we didn't charge you twice. Please, if you see that there's a double charge, don't be mad. Just let us know and we will fix it. We don't want there to be a double charge. It won't double charge forever. It'll probably just double charge this month, and it's probably not going to I'm working to make sure it doesn't happen, but sometimes it's going to slip under the radar, and I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. We're just trying to fix it. If you are on Patreon, you don't need to move over. Thank you for maintaining your Patreon subscription. We appreciate you. If you move over, thank you again. It makes it easy on the admin side, but frankly, however you want to subscribe, we're just grateful for you. All right. So just know we're grateful. Same for those of you on Gumroad still. Thank you. We are having the subscriptions now on zombieorpheus.com. If you are not a subscriber, note that there are benefits to subscriptions, and I'm going to be updating and improving those benefits, okay? So wait, next month I'll tell you what those look like. I need to spend some time sorting it all out, but you should have access to all the cool stuff you always have, all right? So that's subscriptions. E-commerce subscriptions, what else?
You got the website on the screen.
Oh, is there a website on the screen?
Or the links.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you. Can you please add links to the bottom of the screen specifically? So thank you. So Joseph has added to the bottom of the screen the links that you can go to for tips. And so tips work. Tips are typically how we do it when we do like Masters of the Metaverse, our live streaming, Shatter's Compass. So that's how tips work there. Let's see, what other questions do I have here? How do we as the common folk make it happen? What does it refer to? I think I missed that one, Brax. Can you let me know? I know I was mentioning something and I know you referred to it, I just missed it. I'm not actually following the stream. One of the mods are cut and pasting of this document. Okay. No, by the way, I've already bought Zombie Storpheus, so I beat you to it. I did. Zombiestorpheus.com. Yeah, and zombieorpheus.store, I think, .shop. So, yeah, it all works. Okay, moving on. I think so far I've answered all the questions. Let's continue on. Oh, it's 7:36. Shoot, I better hurry up. I've talked about the website. I've talked about the studio. Oh, yes, Shattered Compass. Every Monday, the Shattered Compass team is streaming live a great episode here. Please check it out. Please check out Shattered Compass. Also, I believe they're going to be going on a hiatus come the end of April for a period of time, so we might need to find some other content to put in there on those Mondays. So, yeah, that's a thing. End of April. What else? I'm looking here. I'm sorry, Dead Air, Studio, Stabilizing, Save Zoe. I think, Strowlers, the website Shattered Compass. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Two little minor things here to tell you. One, so we have a lot of talented people in the Zoe community. The community includes those of you who are watching this. It includes the actors and the crew and the creators. Well, if they're not watching this, of course, but it includes them as well. We have a website called The Fantasy News. And one of the things that I want to start doing is I want to start promoting on a monthly basis the things that our community is doing locally. So if you want to share, if you're an actor, a creator, or you're doing some type of creation activity that you want people to know about. Specifically, I'm trying to engage our actors because we have so many people who have participated behind the camera, and their lives are more than just being in the Gamers or Strowlers or Shattered Compass. Their lives are other things as well. They might be participating in a show somewhere, some type of live theater. And so I want to help promote them. So that's one of the things that's going to be going on is I'm going to be promoting what various part of the Zoe family are doing. So that's going to be coming out there. So you can just see what's going on and maybe support them if you're in the area. That's the first thing. Second thing, every other Wednesday, you've heard me talk about a show called Actoroki. It's on Gen Con TV. Peter Ackeson's show, Actoroki, it turns RPGs into movies. What they do is on 1 week, they'll have an RPG session, and then the following week, somebody writes a script and they shoot it on the green screen. And so we watch the script read. And then the third week, they've edited down the footage that they've shot. They bring in actors to act the roles that are in the script. And so the third week, they show it on, they stream the actual movie itself. So week 1, RPG. Week 2, actors read the script. And week 3, the filmed thing is edited and shown. We've been doing this now for about 2 years, and it's pretty fun. Bryce, right now in this particular series, Bryce and I are in the show, Bryce and I are in the show, and we have different actors from the Zoe family who are in the actual movies that you can see. So you need to check that out on Wednesdays. So not this Wednesday, but next Wednesday is our next RPG session. Right now, they're putting on hold the writing of the scripts, and they're just collecting all the RPG content. But yeah, you should check out Actoroki. It's pretty fun. It's very it's just fun. We have a good time from the RPG session. So if you do like watching streamed entertainment, that's something to check out on Gen Con TV. Let me see. Is there anything else, folks? Is Zoe considering? Oh yeah. Okay, Zoe considering the Orc license for the upcoming RPG releases. I can't say yes, I'm always open to considering things. So I am personally not deeply familiar with the ORC license, but I'm happy to look at it. Absolutely. Zoe Game Night, Thursday, 6 p.m., folks. Just join us as we play games as a community. So you can check it out on Twitch TV, Zombie Orpheus. So check out Zoe Game Night. What else? Is there anything else exciting to do? I don't think so. I don't think there's much else. Folks, last call for questions. Oh yeah, Zoe, please jump into the chat channel if there's any other questions. Let me answer this. Did I thoroughly answer things for you? Do you feel like you have a better understanding of what's going on now? I probably need to tell you how you can help us. Okay, so I will tell you that in a minute. Zoe has a Discord, so come chat with members of the cast, crew, and community at discord.gg/zombieorpheus, which will come out on the screen in a moment as well. I think Joseph is jumping on that. So, how can you help us? Well, one thing, you are helping a lot by just giving me a lot of grace as I really am trying to make all this happen, trying to get UDS. It's taking sheer force of will to drive all this stuff together. Ben, I don't know how they did it, but it's a lot. So thank you so much for supporting me through this. I know you didn't even know you were supporting me, but the fact is, by not yelling at me so much, has been really helpful. But we're going to get UDS out there. We're going to get Journey Quest out there. We're going to get new stuff coming out this year as well. Well, hopefully, let's see, we'll have Journey Quest, maybe Gamers the Series, and hopefully some other new stuff. So lots of cool stuff coming out. Is Zoe considering more 5 to 10 minute scripted sketches? A la the old stuff like Pantheus the Cleric? Or yes, 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 yes. We want to do that. So I think there's a huge need for that scripted stuff. So yeah, we totally need to do that. It's just about getting people back on the schedule and getting some funds to help them do that. Because honestly, it's really about the funding. So as I said, we needed to get these Kickstarters out. And so all my efforts on getting that. And then once that's out, then we can stabilize that cash flow and I can start budgeting correctly for that. But I've actually started budgeting for scripted skits. I actually want to focus on really short ones because I want to grow that audience that likes the very short stuff. Like I love the longer ones too, the 5 to 10 minute ones. But if I can get 1 minute skits, if I can hit that TikTok group so that they want to start watching the stuff, that's great. In fact, if you're good at TikTok, if you're good at creating really short things of our existing content, please do talk to me. I want to start driving that stuff forward so that people can be exposed. But look, it's the D&D movie, right? The D&D movie came out. But what's the best D&D movie out there? Darkness Rising, right? So we need to, we need to remind people that that's like one of the greatest D&D movies out there. Okay, I think we're coming upon time. I'm actually 15 minutes over. Well, no, I'm not 15 minutes over. I'm only like 3 minutes over because we started 15 minutes late. All Joseph's fault, by the way. All right, any other questions before I call it? Merc, Lemire, friends, anything else? Waiting to see. I answer all the questions. Did I answer everything? Fun and serious, just making sure I haven't missed everything. All right, it's all clear. Okay. With that, I want to say thank you very much for bearing with me. The next one will be more interesting. I'll try to bring some friends in so we can have a conversation instead. We can have a conversation, and it'll be a little more organized next time. I appreciate all of you. Please reach out to me. You can write me directly if you want. but you can also just send emails to support@zombieorpheus. That's actually a little better place to send to because more people see it than me. Believe it or not, I get an avalanche of emails and it's sometimes hard to sort through. But if you send it to support, if I can't get to it, others do. I am the first line of support here. I'm also the one who's coordinating everything. I'm sort of doing it all right now. So thank you very much for your support. Thank you for your grace. And hey, reach out if you just want to give me a hearty, good job. I appreciate that too. All right, this is Rennie Eructo. I think we're going to call it Joseph. I want to say thank you for Joseph in the background. Joseph Eructo. Yeah, it's my brother, but he's my stepbrother, so it's not like it's nepotism, right? Joseph's running the tech deck today. We also have all their mods on the Discord servers helping with this too. Thank you so much. I want to say thank you, peace, and I will talk to you next month.